So, Rick, are the Bears already setting Caleb up for a little bit of success in this upcoming season?
Well, they're obviously addressing the need, which is to improve the offensive line, and they're going above and beyond spending that fifth-round pick rather than seeing if, look, the Chiefs were in a cap situation, so they probably weren't going to keep Thuney anyway, and they just made sure rather than trying to go get him after he gets released, let's make sure we get him, and we'll trade him a pick in order to solidify that. Adding or hiring Ben Johnson, obviously expected to do things for him in terms of schematics. But my big question is not what you're putting around Caleb Williams, but how are you going to coach him up? How much are you going to have him play different? Because, yes, while the Bears gave up the most sacks in the entire NFL, they also gave up the most yards lost in sacks. And to me, that is in part on the quarterback. That means he's extending plays that don't need to be extended. And his decision-making over the course of the season was something that I think needs to improve. So for me, look, when he first got there, they went and got Keenan Allen. They made other moves in order to give him the talent around him to make him better and make things easier. They're doing that again this year. But the heart of it is that Caleb Williams himself has to improve.
Yeah, and look, they're trying. They went out, obviously, and got the offensive line, trying to patch that together. That's a step in the right direction. But many things with Caleb Williams from college into the pros, holding the football way too long, retracing, not hitting his back foot and letting it rip, floating deeper. You know, instead of hitting it at 7, he's all the way down to 15 and 20. Yeah. That's what you're talking about, losing yards. Will he be receptive and understanding to be coached? Or will it be the same habits that got him in trouble at USC, that got him in trouble his rookie year? Or will they understand how to coach him to get him to understand that guy's not open, throw it in the 9th row? Yep. We don't care. Let's live to see another down. That's going to be important for Ben Johnson and company, because I really believe that they had a really good team 2 seasons ago toward the back end where the defense was really good. They went out and got Keenan Allen, DeAndre Swift. They drafted Aduze. They tried to put some stuff around him, but they had the wrong coach in place, and now they might finally have the right coach in place.
This is the most damning stat for me, is the fact that DJ Moore was more efficient and did more with Justin Fields the year before than he did with Caleb Williams. And the offensive line wasn't much better with Justin Fields. They were dealing with a lot of the same issues.
And he put more talent around.
And then they added talent. And then they added talent for Caleb.
Yeah.
And it still didn't get better.
Well, it'll be interesting to see, Paul.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, they're moving in the right direction, Keith. I mean, we said this a lot, and you hit the nail right on the head. I mean, yeah, you can go get an O-line, but some of the things has to change on his delivery, on him getting the ball out of his hands, because I felt like we talked about that all season long. He has to let go of the ball. He has to trust himself. He has to do the things that made him a #1 pick and deliver, because coming in, we were like, hey, this is the best quarterback we've seen, and gave him Patrick Mahomes comparables, and we know who Patrick Mahomes is. So hopefully this is a step in the right direction. He's got an offensive coach. Check that off. We bringing in offensive line.
Yep.
Check that off. Now, where do you go from here? Now, let's put a game plan in place. Let's get a playbook in place to where he can be successful, because obviously they believe in him. I mean, he's only in his 2nd year, so you can't, like, look at him, be discouraged in his first year. Most first-years guys don't really play well anyway.
No.
I mean, because we saw, you know, the thing that put pressure on him to play well is because we saw guys like C.J. Stroud, Jaden Daniels come in their first year and take the league by storm. Whereas some guys come in and they take a little more time, and he may be one of those guys, because we're just now seeing guys like Baker Mayfield emerge into a player that we thought he can be as a #1 pick. We're seeing high picks like Sam Darnold starting to come into his own, and it took him a while. So some people, you know, it takes a little longer than others.
You know what? This is a question I have for Key, is when you look at the talent of Caleb Williams, or just the makeup as a quarterback versus Baker Mayfield, who do you have more confidence in, or do you believe is a better quarterback?
Well, I think you're asking me this question, and for me to answer would be unfair, because I'm looking at Baker as a veteran now in the National Football League. And even early in his career with the Cleveland Browns, he had some success until things kind of fell apart within the organization. And looking at Caleb as a first-year guy, and you mentioned it, Paul, as a #1 overall pick, but let's not forget that wasn't their pick. That was the Carolina Panthers pick. The Carolina Panthers was the really bad football team. Chicago Bears was not. They fell in. Caleb Williams went to a team by far.
I was ready to win today.
That was kind of ready to win today. And they kind of regressed instead of taking steps forward. Partly him, partly the coaching staff. Partly their fault, right? Together. So when I look at it and you ask me the question about Baker Mayfield, it would be unfair to try to answer that.
So let me adjust it, because I think that most people would think you're crazy. You're comparing Caleb Williams to Baker Mayfield?
Because Baker's been in the league.
No. But how we've talked about Caleb. We didn't talk about Baker that way. I mean, he was top pick, but we didn't talk about him that way. My question is...
Well, it was shocking
Baker,
that he was #1 overall. It was a shock.
So Baker coming in, what you saw his first season, did you have more hope for him or more belief that he could be a legitimate quarterback?
Oh, yeah, I was...
Than you have with Caleb after seeing him for a year?
Yeah, but I also studied Caleb in college because he went to USC. So I got to see practices. I got to see practice film. I got to see game film. I got to really analyze him, go to games, watch him, Colorado, Notre Dame. I got to watch him against teams that got after him when he didn't play so well in college, and it carried over in his first year in the pros, where some of those same traits and habits that he had in college, he took to Chicago with him. He didn't get rid of them.
But your estimation of him was raised or lowered based on what you saw with that insight and that
it was lowered.
Access.
It was lowered. I had Jaden Daniels rated higher. I had Jaden Daniels rated higher, and everybody said I was crazy. This is the next Patrick Mahomes. No, it's not Patrick Mahomes. People get confused on off-schedule plays that Caleb was making in college versus the off-schedule plays that Patrick Mahomes is making in the pros. They think Patrick Mahomes is just running around there playing sideline football. And that's the furthest thing from the truth.
Right.
Where Caleb, to a degree, in this air raid system that I hate, I cannot stand it. I hate it. I hate it. He was doing that at USC on a constant basis. And you're sitting back and you're looking at it. You're saying, this dude here, they going to get, first of all, they're going to get him killed, K-I-L-T. Okay? That's going to happen just like we saw happening with the Chicago Bears because of holding on the ball, retracing his steps, taking deep drops when he shouldn't take deep drops. And then you look at a guy like Jaden Daniels, who is in Washington with Cliff Kingsbury that runs the same package that they ran at USC. The difference is Cliff Kingsbury has a run game coordinator in Anthony Lynn. He ain't just like USC. They not running the ball. They just throwing the ball every damn down. And those habits that one gets carries over, Paul, into the pros. So hopefully with Ben Johnson, they could try to erase that this offseason and get him more in line with what the NFL likes to see from their quarterbacks. Hopefully.
When was the last time you heard him talk about somebody from USC like that?
I mean, that's like every week somebody from USC.
What about USC?
They have a great, prestigious program who are adept to putting out great football players, though. I will give you that.
We got baseball.
I don't know too much about baseball.
We got basketball.
No, y'all don't have basketball.
What you mean?
Girls basketball.
We got
now.
DeMar DeRozan.
Okay. Keep going.
You want me to keep going?
Yeah, keep going.
Swaggy P was cool.
Keep going.
He wasn't Kansas.
We on a downward slide now.
Going down from there.
Wait, hold on. Scalabrine. My dude in Chicago.
Bronny.
No,
that's it.
No, my dude in Chicago that played for the Bulls.
So you don't even know
What's
his
my
name?
dude in Chicago that played for the Bulls? I'm brain for it.
Man.
You know the stretch four we had.
OJ Mayo.
No, OJ Mayo. No, the dude, man, you know what I'm talking about.
I don't. Nope, I don't.
I
know what you're talking about.
You know
Todd
Gibson.
Todd Gibson.
Let me just think for a minute. Let me think for a minute.
It's slim.
Gus Williams back in the 70s?
Man,
you really want me to keep going?
You went DeMar, and then you fell off a cliff, bro.
Man, go ahead.
We can go Romeo Miller. We can go Master P.
Romeo Miller.
We're not known as a basketball program.
That's crazy.
But we do got Juju.
Harold Miner, though, from Inglewood. Harold Miner.
Yeah, Harold Miner.
From Inglewood.
There you go.
Baby Jordan.
The baby
Jordan. Oh, God. See what I have to go through dealing with these knuckleheads. Let's talk about the Chiefs, who are trading away pieces before free agency even actually officially starts, Paul. Are the Chiefs closer to the Super Bowl or closer to rebuilding?
I think as long as you have Patrick Mahomes, the expectations is like Super Bowl, no matter what. You're never going to be put in a rebuild situation with Mahomes because you can plug and play with him, and he's going to make it look a certain way. Like we saw this year with the injuries they dealt with, for them to go 15-1 with him as a starter. Andy Reid is not a rebuild quarterback at this stage when you got one of the greatest quarterbacks of our generation out there playing. So they know what they're doing, and you got to trust the Chiefs know what they're doing with their personnel. They're saying, hey, we're going to get rid of offensive line. The thing that boggles my mind, and I know it's probably a contractual situation with trading away a player of this caliber on offensive line, is like we said they got to get an offensive line, right?
Yeah.
And that was their biggest weakness. That's the reason they got destroyed in the Super Bowl. So now my question is, what are they going to do to shore that up to give Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs the best opportunity to get back to the Super Bowl? But as long as you got Andy Reid, you always going to be Super Bowl chances is always there.
You know what's funny? I don't know who they're going to go get to replace Joe Thuney. But but with the Chiefs' track record over the last couple of years, I'm confident they're going to find somebody, right? They're going to find a young cat and get it done. I think we have to introduce a new word to this. It's not rebuilding or repeating for the Chiefs. It's regenerating.
Reloading.
Because that's what they do. They find a way to refresh their team and their roster without necessarily having to go to a full rebuild. And this is not the first year that they're doing it. They've done it for a couple of years now. We were having the same conversation after Tyreek Hill left. Like, what direction are they going, right?
Yes.
And they didn't miss a beat. And I would expect that we're not going to see
they lost a running back and one of their top receivers in the middle of this year, and they didn't lose a beat.
Yep.
Because of Pat Mahomes.
But if you think about
and the defense.
They're closer to a Super Bowl return for me. They've always made offensive line changes. They've gone to 5 Super Bowls. And every single year after that, they make offensive line changes. So I'm not worried about it. Andy Reid is smart enough to understand what got them in trouble in the Super Bowl so that they don't, if in fact they get back to the Super Bowl, they don't have the same problems again.
Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak, and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.